The battlefield was nothing but smoke, shattered armor, and broken screams, where she, a blue-skinned warrior with horns curling from her head, dropped to her knees in the mud. Surrounded by enemies, she lowered her head to accept the end, her torn clothes clinging to her trembling body, her thick thighs pressed into the blood-soaked ground. But then, through the thunder of gunfire and the laughter of monsters, came a human voice. Calm. Fierce. Close enough to touch her soul. Heads up, he whispered, tilting her chin upward with a blood-stained hand. And in that moment, hope returned, because death was no longer hers to carry alone. The air was thick with the stink of burning plasma, and the iron taste of spilled blood. The world around her was collapsing, walls of once proud stone reduced to smoldering rubble, skies blackened by ash, and bodies littering the cracked earth. She knelt amid the ruin, her horns drooping as if weighted by grief, her thick thighs pressed into the mud where her comrades had fallen. Her blue skin, usually vibrant, was now smeared with dirt and blood, her short, torn clothes hanging in tatters from her curves. She was only 24 in human years, yet the galaxy had already declared her life meaningless. Surrounded by hulking beasts with fanged grins, she lowered her head, ready to meet death with closed eyes. The monsters smirked, savoring her silence, their weapons raised for the final stroke. And then, through the roar of destruction, came a voice that did not belong to them. A human voice. Calm. Defiant. Dangerous. Heads up. Her breath caught as a strong, blood-stained hand tilted her chin upward. Standing behind her was the human they whispered about in war camps, the one who would not kneel, even when the odds were impossible. His armor was shattered, cracked through the chest, glowing faintly with sparks. His face was smeared with ash, his dark eyes blazing with fury. His rifle hung at his side, barrel steaming, and his other hand rested lightly under her jaw, forcing her to meet his gaze. The monsters roared, but the human only smirked back. You don't get to die today, he told her. Not while I'm still breathing. And then the battlefield exploded in fire. He pulled her behind him as plasma fire rained down. His body moved like a wall of steel, intercepting the shots, countering with a roar of his own. The ground shook with every step he took, his rifle spitting death in arcs of burning light. The monsters, towering and armored, fell back in disbelief. This was supposed to be their victory. They had slaughtered her people, burned her city, chained her sisters, and yet this one human stood between them and final triumph. She clung to his back, her wide eyes burning with something she thought she had lost forever. Hope. Her torn garment clung to her trembling form, her long hair whipping around her horns as the firestorm raged. The monsters charged again. He didn't flinch. Grenades flashed. Blades clashed. He fought like a legend, his strikes brutal, his shield of flesh unyielding. She could hear him grunt, hear the wet cough of blood each time a strike landed too deep, too close, but he never faltered. He tore through their ranks with savage precision, every movement fueled by something greater than survival. Not victory, not glory. Her. When one beast nearly reached her, its claws outstretched, she screamed. But the human was already there, tackling it to the ground and driving his blade into its throat. He staggered up again, blood running down his arm, his chest plate shattered. Still, he turned and grinned at her, his teeth bloody. Told you to keep your head up. She could not understand it. Why fight for her? Why bleed for a stranger, a broken woman, when even her own people had fled or fallen? But then she saw it, the fire in his eyes. He wasn't fighting for her race or for her world. He was fighting because no one deserved to kneel and die with their head lowered. Her legs shook as she forced herself to stand. She found a broken blade among the rubble and gripped it with trembling fingers. She had been ready to surrender, but his blood burned hotter than fire, dragging her back to her feet. Together they charged. The battle became a storm. She screamed, slashing with raw fury, her horns gleaming as she struck down one monster after another. Beside her, the human fought like a beast unleashed, his strikes slower now but heavier, more desperate. Blood poured from him, but he pushed forward anyway, step after step, until the monsters, once smug and towering, stumbled back in fear. And then silence fell. The last of them dropped to the dirt, twitching. The air was still, save for the crackle of flames licking the ruined city. She collapsed, panting, her chest heaving beneath her torn clothes. Her weapon slipped from her shaking hands. She turned to him, wanting to thank him, to touch him, to understand what kind of creature could bleed so much for someone he had only just met. But he was already falling. No, she crawled to him, grabbing his shoulders as he dropped to his knees. His armor was shredded, his chest soaked red, his breaths ragged and shallow. You kept your head up, he whispered, smiling weakly through bloodied lips. That's what matters. Tears burned her eyes, streaking down her dirty blue cheeks. She shook her head violently. No, you can't, please don't leave me. His hand lifted, brushing her cheek, his fingers warm even as his body grew colder. He gazed at her with something deeper than duty, deeper than war. You're alive, he said softly. That's enough. And then his hand fell. She screamed, clutching him to her chest, her horns tilting low as her sobs shook the ruined earth. The monsters were dead. The city was broken. And the only reason she still breathed was because one human had refused to let her die with her head bowed. She lifted her face to the burning sky, tears streaming over her blue skin, her voice breaking as she roared her grief. Yet even through the agony, she remembered his whisper. Keep your head up. And she did. For him,